Shalara 4 was a forgotten world, a quiet farming colony on the edge of the segmentum obscurus. Its people lived in peace, far from the wars of the Imperium. They prayed, they worked the soil, they feared nothing more than the storms that cross the black plains. But deep beneath their feet, older than the Imperium itself, a tomb lay in silence, a Necron tomb. The first signs were small. The earth trembled at night. Animals refused to enter their pens. Machines failed without reason. Then entire villages went dark. Homes stood untouched, meals half-eaten, candles still burning. But the people were gone. When the guards searched, their patrols never returned. On the 12th night, the truth rose from the soil. The ground split, stone shattered, figures of metal climbed into the moonlight. Their eyes glowed green, their weapons hummed with energy. The first squad to see them was erased in seconds. Their final Vox recording ended with screams. Then silence. The Necrons had awoken. The planet fell into terror. Green fire lit the horizon. Gauss beams tore through fortifications, turning men to ash. The astropath sent one last message. Ancient machines, relentless, the dead walk in metal bodies. The tomb has awoken. No more signals left the planet. Civilians fled to the hive city of Karseth, but the Necrons were already waiting. From beneath the hive foundations, gates opened. Phalanxes of immortals marched out, their weapons raised. Defense batteries fired. The beams slid harmlessly across living metal. The return volley reduced the walls to dust. Tens of thousands died in hours. The guard fought back. Tanks roared. Heavy bolters thundered. Hograns charged into the metallic ranks, tearing machines apart. For every Necron destroyed, another rose. Scarabs swarmed over broken frames, knitting them whole. Hope turned to despair. Despair turned to madness. The Necrons did not speak. They did not taunt. They exterminated. Beneath the hive, a figure of command awoke, an overlord, Takareth of the silent dynasty. His body gleamed with glyphs of ancient power, his staff pulsed with green light. He regarded humanity with cold disinterest. He ordered, "Harvest them," and the killing grew worse. The final stand came at the Basilica of Karseth. Refugees prayed as the guard raised barricades. The Necrons came in silence. Streets shook as warriors advanced. Colonel Valen fought until his pistol ran dry. He swung his sword until the blade cracked. His men screamed the Emperor's name as they fell.
Then the Overlord entered. One wave of his staff, and flesh turned to dust. The basilica collapsed. The icon of the Emperor shattered. Shalara 4 was lost. When Imperial ships returned, there was nothing left. Cities lay in ruins. The soil was black. No life remained. At the heart of the world stood a new monument, a black obelisk, gleaming in the sun. From orbit, its surface reflected a single image, a green eye watching. Shalara 4 was marked forever as a dead world. The Necrons had claimed it. Shalara 4, a name spoken only in forgotten star charts, a minor agri-world lost on the fringes of the segmentum obscurus. Its people were simple. They worked the soil. They prayed in their chapels. They measured time not by wars or crusades, but by the harvest. There was no industry here, no great hive cities, no forges of war. Only plains of black soil, endless wheat fields, and a sky scarred by storms. But the Imperium had little interest in Shalara 4. A token garrison of Astra Militarum watched the settlements. A single astropath linked the world to the stars. To its people, life was stable, peaceful. But beneath their feet, something ancient waited. A tomb, silent, patient, older than the Imperium itself. For 60 million years it had slept, until the day came when the world itself began to stir. The first signs were dismissed, a tremor in the fields written off as storms, machinery failing, blamed on poor maintenance, animals panicking in the night, thought to be wolves in the hills. But then the villages began to vanish, one after another, gone without sound, without struggle. Houses stood intact, candles still burned, meals lay half-eaten on the tables, but the people were gone. Colonel Veyron, commander of the garrison, called them raider attacks. He ordered patrols to scour the Black Plains. None returned. Every day more silence spread across the settlements. Every night the ground shook harder. Something was waking. And when it rose, Shalara 4 would learn true horror.
The 12th night, the turning point. Sergeant Hasker led his squad into Falak Vale, a hamlet once home to 500 souls. Now, silent. The air was still. Doors swung open in the wind. Meals rotted on tables. The people were gone. The squad advanced with weapons ready. Their vox recorded everything. At first, only static. Boots on stone. Whispered prayers. Then the ground split open. The earth cracked like a wound. From the depths, something rose. Figures of metal, cold, tall, eyes burning with green light. They climbed from the soil without sound, weapons in hand. The squad fired. Las guns cut through the dark, but the beams splashed harmlessly across living metal. The machines returned fire. Green energy cut men apart, stripping flesh from bone, leaving only ash. Hasker screamed orders. Then, nothing. The recording ended. That was the first time humanity saw the Necrons on Shalara 4, and the last time anyone heard Sergeant Hasker's voice. After Falak Vale, the planet bled. Villages fell silent one by one. Patrols vanished. Entire districts went dark. At night, green lights burned on the horizon, like fires, but colder, hungrier. The guard fought where they could, outposts reinforced, barbed wire laid, heavy bolters manned. But the Necrons came in silence. They marched through fire. They advanced without fear. Gauss beams tore through bunkers, slicing stone and steel as though it were parchment. Men screamed, and then were gone. Nothing remained but dust blowing in the wind. The astropath felt it before anyone else. Whispers in the void, the cold presence of ancient minds pressing against her thoughts. She sent her last message across the stars. Ancient machines, relentless, the dead walk in metal bodies. The tomb has awoken. Her signal cut. Her chamber fell silent. She was never seen again. Civilians fled to the hive city of Karseth, the last stronghold of Shalara IV. Families packed into streets. Prayers rose into the storm-filled sky. But deep beneath the hive foundations, the tomb gates opened, and the true horror began. Karseth, the jewel of Shalara IV, the only hive city on the planet, home to millions. Its walls rose high above the black plains. Its defense batteries lined the spires. If any place could endure, it was Karseth. The refugees believed this. The guard clung to it, but the truth was already buried beneath their feet. From the lowest hive levels, the tomb gates opened. Streets shook, walls split, and the Necrons emerged. Immortals marched in perfect formation, ranks unbroken, weapons raised, eyes burning. The defense batteries fired. Their shells struck living metal and ricocheted into the sky. The Necrons answered. One volley, emerald fire. The batteries fell silent. The walls crumbled. The streets drowned in war. Civilians screamed as Gauss beams cut through the crowds. Entire blocks vanished in seconds, reduced to piles of ash. Tanks rolled through the avenues, their cannons thundering. Bolters roared from every spire. The guard fought with every weapon, every ounce of faith. And for a moment, it seemed they held. Necron warriors fell under fire. Immortals shattered under tank shells. Even the sky lit with hope. But then the machines rose again. Scarabs poured over broken bodies. Living metal fused. The fallen stood once more. Every victory turned to ash. Every sacrifice erased. The guard watched as the dead machines rejoined the fight. The civilians saw their protectors break. Hope collapsed. Karseth was no fortress. It was a grave, and the tomb was only beginning to open. Beneath Karseth, deeper than any hive level, a chamber stirred. For 60 million years it had slept, silent, patient, untouched. Now it opened. From the tomb rose a figure of command, not a warrior, not a drone, but a lord. Overlord Tikareth of the Silent Dynasty. His frame was vast, crowned with glyphs of command. A staff of office burned with emerald light in his hand. The weight of ages pressed down around him. He looked upon humanity and felt nothing. No anger, no pride, no recognition, only contempt for vermin in his soil. He spoke a single word. His voice echoed like grinding stone. Harvest. The order spread through every tomb, every circuit, every warrior, and the killing grew worse. Necron lords rose to lead the armies. Cryptex awakened their dark devices. Monoliths clawed their way out of the earth, their portals spilling endless legions. Karseth became a slaughterhouse. The streets ran red. The air burned with the screams of the dying. There was no negotiation, no mercy, only extermination. The people of Shalara IV had believed they lived on a quiet world. They were wrong. They lived on a tomb, and now the tomb had opened. The Basilica of Karseth, a temple of saints and martyrs, a sanctuary in the heart of the hive. It became the last refuge of Shalara IV. Colonel Veyron gathered what remained of his regiment, broken men, wounded, exhausted. Behind them, thousands of civilians huddled in prayer. Mothers clutched their children. Priests cried out to the Emperor. The sound of hymns filled the halls. But outside, the Necrons closed in. Barricades were raised, sandbags stacked beneath stained glass windows, heavy bolters mounted on altars. Every guardsman swore oaths of faith. When the machines came, the streets shook. Emerald light cut through the night. Warriors advanced, ranks unbroken. The guard fired until barrels glowed red. Laser guns blazed. Missiles screamed. Ogryns charged into the metallic tide with ripper guns roaring. The Necrons fell. Bodies shattered. Scarabs swarmed over the ruins. And the fallen rose again. Colonel Veyron fought in the front line. His pistol emptied. His power sword cracked against living metal. He fought like a man possessed. Each strike a prayer. Each kill a vow. Each step closer to the end. Then the basilica doors split apart. Stone shattered. Light died. And the Overlord entered. Tikareth stood among the faithful, towering, silent, his staff burning with green fire. One motion, one wave of power, and men turned to dust. Statues crumbled, the ceiling fell, the Emperor's golden icon shattered into fragments. The basilica was gone. The prayers fell silent, and with them the last hope of Shalara IV. Shalara IV was gone, declared a dead world, quarantined, erased from imperial charts.
But records remained. Fragments, survivor accounts from orbit, data clerks whispering in candlelight. And what they described was worse than silence. The probe scans found new structures rising from the soil. Obelisks, pylons, monoliths, a geometry not of man, but of machines. They grew where cities once stood. They pulsed with light, and they sent signals into the void. Not distress, not warning, but summons. The tomb world was calling to others. The Mechanicus argued for purgation, exterminatus, but the fleet was already too late. For in the months that followed, other worlds began to report the same signs. Tremors, disappearing settlements, green lights in the night. Each report ended the same way. Static, then nothing. The ancestors of the silent dynasty had awakened. Shalara 4 was only the first, a beginning, not an ending. And across the galaxy, more tombs stir in silence, waiting. The Imperium does not know how many. No one does. But they are waking, and they are coming. Deep within the tomb, the Overlord stirred. His consciousness expanded across the lattice of living metal. Every circuit sang with obedience. Every warrior waited for his command. He remembered the long sleep, the endless dark, the silence of eons. Now the silence was broken. The humans had come, soft, weak, ignorant. They woke his legions. They bled upon his soil, and they were erased. Their resistance was nothing. Their cities rubble. Their lives fuel for memory harvest. The Overlord felt no pride, no rage, only the cold satisfaction of function fulfilled. He surveyed the surface through the eyes of his warriors. The obelisks rose, the pylons aligned, the great monolith hung in the air, a black shard against the sun. This world was his once more, a fortress, a beacon, a weapon. This summons had gone out. Other lords would wake, other dynasties would stir. The galaxy had forgotten the Necrons, but memory is eternal, and now memory returns. The Overlord turned his gaze to the stars. So many worlds, so much to reclaim. The harvest had only begun.
The reports reached Terra slowly, fragmented, distorted. Too many worlds, too many vanishings. Entire sectors cut to silence, astropathic choirs burned out, whole fleets gone without trace. The Inquisition convened. Behind locked gates, in chambers lit by sacred flame, and fear spread among them. The Ordo Xenos had seen such signs before. The same green fire, the same silence, the same monuments of black stone. Whispers of ancient machines, of the Necron tire, of a war older than humanity itself. Some wanted denial, others demanded purgation, but all agreed on one truth. The Imperium faced an enemy it could not understand. Inquisitors argued for secrecy, the truth hidden from the people, from the Guard, from the world soon to be lost. They knew terror spread faster than war, and the Imperium was already drowning in heresy, in corruption, in endless war. Another enemy, another apocalypse could not be revealed. But even as they debated, the tombs woke. One world, then three, then entire systems. The green tide rose in silence, the stars burned with unearthly light, and the Inquisition knew in their hearts that the Imperium had no plan, no weapon, no hope, only delay, only sacrifice, only blood. The Necrons had returned, and the Imperium was already too late. The world of Vera was chosen, a mining colony rich in ore, a fortress world in name, but in truth a frontier outpost with thin defenses. When the tremors came, when the ground split open, the Imperium responded with force. The Astra Militarum arrived in millions, and with them a single company of space marines, the Sons of Dawn, the Imperial Fists. It would be the first true test. The Astra Militarum dug trenches, basilisks lined the ridges, manticores raised their launchers to the skies. The Astartes stood silent among them, bolters ready, eyes fixed on the dark horizon. Then the ground began to glow, lines of emerald light, pulsing, spreading. The tomb was waking. They came without sound, warriors of living metal, ranks upon ranks, their eyes burning green. Gauss fire tore through the trenches, men turned to dust where they stood, armor melted like wax. The Guard fired back, laser guns burned, heavy bolters roared. But for every Necron that fell, two more rose. The machines rebuilt themselves, bones of metal snapping back into place. The phalanx advanced, unbroken. The basilisks unleashed their fury. Earthshaker rounds cratered the plains. Manticores lit the sky with fire. The Necrons did not break. They did not falter. They marched on, silent, unstoppable. When the lines wavered, the Astartes struck. The Imperial fists charged into the fray. Chain swords bit, power fists crushed, bolters spat death. For a moment, the tide slowed. For a moment, men believed. Then the monolith came, a black pyramid of living stone, floating, vast, eternal. Its portals split wide. More warriors poured forth, immortals with heavy Gauss cannons, wraiths that slithered through walls of rock and steel. The Guard broke, the trenches burned, the plain became a graveyard. Even the Astartes faltered before the endless tide. On Vera, humanity met the Necrons in open war, and the galaxy learned a terrible truth. The dead do not stop. The dead repair themselves.
The guard had broken. Regiments scattered. Men fled into the wastes, only to vanish in green fire. The plain of Vera belonged to the machines. Only the Space Marines remained. The Imperial fists did not retreat. They formed a wall of ceramite and steel. Bolters barked, chainswords screamed. Every step forward was paid in blood. They fought as their Primarch commanded, unyielding, unbroken, even in death. Necron immortals closed in. Gauss fire cut into power armor. Brothers fell, burning from within. A captain led the charge. His storm shield glowed with defiance. He shattered a lich guard in two with his thunder hammer. The ground shook. The Marines roared. But the monolith opened again, and more poured out, unending. The captain knew the truth. There was no victory, only time. He ordered Vox silence. No cries, no prayers, only the sound of bolter fire. His brothers fought to the last. A wall of yellow armor swallowed in a tide of green light. From orbit, the last picked feeds flickered. A handful of yellow figures surrounded, blazing against the dark, then static. The guard was gone, the Astartes gone, Vera gone. On that day, the Imperium learned a truth written in silence. The Necrons do not win battles. They erase worlds. Vera fell. No signals, no survivors. The Imperium recorded it as one world lost. But it was not one. It was the first of many. Across the segmentum obscurus, other reports came. Mining colonies silent, frontier worlds dark, hive cities swallowed by tremors and green fire. At first, the administratum called it coincidence, communication delays, rebellion, warp storms. But the pattern grew. Too many worlds, too many vanishings. It was no longer denial, it was fear. The High Lords of Terra gathered in secrecy. The Inquisition presented its files. Mechanicus Magi displayed captured fragments of black stone. Every report told the same story, the same enemy, the same silence. Necron tombs were awakening. Not one, not a dozen, hundreds. Entire dynasties stirring in the dark. Some demanded exterminatus campaigns. Others called for Astartes crusades. But there were too many worlds, too many tombs. The Imperium was stretched thin. Orcs burned half a sector. Chaos fleets pushed from the eye. The Tyranids devoured the eastern fringe. And now the Necrons returned. Cold, endless, patient. The Imperium faced a truth it could not ignore. The stars were waking, and they were not waking for man.
The Overlord of Shalara 4 extended his will into the void. His summons echoed through the immaterium, not with warp sorcery, but with the logic of star-born machines, a frequency older than humanity, older than the Imperium. And the tombs answered. Across dead moons, across shattered worlds, others stirred. Silent courts awake. Dynasties long buried rose again. Cryptechs aligned their engines. Lords sharpened their blades of blackened metal. Phalanxes of warriors fell into rank and file. One by one the voices returned, ancient minds bound by eternal hate. The silent dynasty was not alone. The Imperium was drowning. Worlds fell silent. Sectors lost contact. The stars burned green. The High Lords argued. The Guard bled. The Astartes died in silence. But one Inquisitor refused to wait for death. Inquisitor Kalen of the Ordo Xenos broke his oath. He ordered archives unsealed. He burned through Mechanicus data vaults. He hunted forbidden texts, scraps of lore older than Terra's own history. He studied the ancient enemy, the Necron tier, the war in heaven, the pact with the Sea-Tan. Every word was blasphemy, every page heresy. But he read them all. Kalen learned a truth hidden for eons. The Necrons were not gods, not demons, not immortal. They were machines bound to memory, and memory could be broken. Some tombs still slumbered. Some dynasties still fractured. Their command codes fractured, their protocols flawed. A weakness, small, dangerous, but real. Kalen sought allies, rogue magi, radical tech priests, even Xenos mercenaries. He spoke of a weapon, a key, a way to turn the Necrons against themselves. Most called him mad. Some called him traitor, but a few listened. The Imperium would not save itself. Kalen would find a way, even if it damned his soul. The Overlord spoke in thought signal, no words, only command. He spoke of reclamation, of order restored, of flesh stripped from the stars. Some lords resisted, proud, defiant, clinging to fractured memory of empires past. But pride bends before inevitability, and the will of the dynasties aligned. Together they planned, a map of stars drawn in green fire, marked with tombs yet to wake, marked with prey yet to be culled. World after world, sector after sector, would fall in silence.
The Overlord looked to the galaxy and knew one truth. The Necrons had slept for 60 million years, but now they would never sleep again.
Inquisitor Kaelin's path led him beyond sanctioned charts, into black zones forbidden by imperial decree, into worlds marked only with a single word, exterminatus. He ignored every warning, every curse, every oath of damnation, because somewhere, hidden beneath dead suns, lay what he sought, a fragment of God. The Titan, the star gods of the Necron tier, broken in the war in heaven, shattered into shards, imprisoned within vaults of black stone. The Necrons worshipped them still, or feared them, or both. Kaelin did not fear them. He wanted one. He wanted their power. He found the world after months of silence in the void. A dead star burned red above it. The surface was ash and glass. No life, no sound. Only the tomb, a monolith buried in the crust, black as the void, cracked but not broken. He led his retinue inside, servitors with plasma drills, a rogue magos with mechadendrites twitching, psychers bound in chains. The air was heavy with static, the walls hummed, the tomb was not dead, it was waiting, and deep within the shards stirred. Kaelin saw it, a crystal of green fire bound in pylons of living metal. It pulsed like a heart. It whispered without sound. His acolytes screamed. His psychers bled from their eyes, but Kaelin only stared. He had found his weapon. The question was not if he would use it. The question was when. The Necrons had awakened, but now so had something else. Inquisitor Kaelin stood before the crystal, bound in black pylons, pulsing with light older than stars. It whispered, not in words but in hunger, in promises, in lies. The psychers screamed until their throats tore. The magos babbled strings of corrupted code. Servitors shut down one by one. But Kaelin did not break. He reached forward,